It's not that, Hugh Tuyat affirmed. I also saw it like that. We both saw the same thing. Isn't there a problem? It's definitely a blinding technique. A stray thought crossed Hugh Toyot's head. Is it because we lack a lot of manliness? How could this happen? Is your son missing? Hugh Tuyat only had one question. Who was that guy? Looking at Tu Lang's obsequious appearance in front of that person, Hugh Tuyat asked Hugh Vu. Having studied country A for so long, had she ever seen this person? She replied no, she had never heard of it. Looking at the three people getting into a healthy car to leave here, she guessed that they certainly possessed the power of ancient technology. Guessing in that direction made Hugh Tuyat extremely upset. Otherwise, how could they have such terrible power and not have time to act yet? Making us look weak like slugs? The radio in Hugh Vu's ear rang out the voice of his subordinates. Two bosses. Their president has arrived at the hotel. Don't think about it. Their president has arrived at the hotel. Which means we've just been played. So let's go back to headquarters and discuss. Taking out his phone, Hugh Vu ordered Tiu Cat. Listen carefully. Help me investigate what the guy wearing the hat is doing in Country A. He replied yes. A Zhao's raid ended there. He was grabbed by A Q's head and dragged back to the roof of a building. Sure. Let's not talk about that mysterious name. We have already missed the opportunity to assassinate. It seems I sense two strange breaths. Two very strong zombie bosses have invaded our territory. This information made A Zhao temporarily ignore the crowd just now. Instead, he felt that on the white plane from Country A there was the breath of extremely powerful people invading his country. If we dig deeper into the details, those two auras actually emanate from the pet transport compartment. Behind the iron cage were the speechless faces of A Mao and A Lang. The pet transport compartment was about to leave the plane. Last, A Lang became more and more impatient, starting to curl up like a wolf. But the dog's neck is still tied to the dog's leash. Lan Ky leaned close to him and whispered, "Shut up. If you reveal it, I'll tell your big brother." Thinking about the scene where a CU had been hanging like a piece of dried meat on the roof of the city hall for several months, A Lang was so scared that he jumped out of his skin and immediately switched to dog voice mode. Now you can call him whatever animal he is, as long as you don't tell big brother. Lan Ky and Tu Lang each came in front of the two deep sisters, seeing them walking slowly. Your pets look so unique. Tu Lang smirked, haha. It's truly unique. Taking this opportunity, Lan Ky clicked his tongue and called a dog right in front of the two deep sisters to prove their credibility. These two dogs were indeed real pet dogs. Without any doubt, the four girls shook hands, wished a happy cooperative visit, and then left in the opposite direction. Hugh Vu couldn't help but be curious, glancing at the other two people to evaluate. Those two girls are really smart. They won't reveal the source of that power to us. There is only one way. Has the invited expert arrived yet? Hugh Tuyat looked down at the clock and replied, "It must be now." 2 days later, the president began a 7-day visit that attracted the attention of the entire press, and every move of the president of Country A was continuously updated. I went to our largest commercial center to survey the business model here that is likely to close huge orders. Or I will go to some technology businesses this afternoon to meet the Dark Queen. People are also curious about the schedule of the president of Country A. Only meetings such as negotiations on exchange conferences, which do not allow civilians to enter, need to be watched on TV. On the night of the 6th day, the weather was favorable. As soon as Tu Lang and Jiang Tu stepped out, his image was clearly projected in front of the two sisters of the Deep family. Are you sure you've seen this guy turn into a handsome guy? Still a question for the two girls. Suddenly the door opened from behind, and a manly guy walked up and called them. Prime Minister asked me to come here to coordinate with you two. From Hugh Toyot's expression, this person does not seem strange at all. He is just the minister of Country B with very special abilities, so he was sent to support the two girls. Say, whose memories do you want me to take? It's him. Hugh Tuyat raised her face and looked at the guy in the suit on the screen. Now that the visit has ended, we don't have much time left. This guy is a mysterious character from country A. We haven't been able to investigate anything about him, but I'm sure this guy is involved. To the ancients. The minister stopped pulling out a small vase in his hand, thinking that this was very simple. My job. There's nothing I can't do. He pressed lightly on it, and the place where he was standing immediately emitted a cloud of smoke. The profession that the minister just mentioned is disguise. This time he disguised himself as the president of country B, smiling in the same tone as him. So, is it the same or not? Like that, the two deep sisters admit. Everything depends on you. As soon as she had a bit of free time, Tu Lang invited Jiang-tu to the vending machine, took out a can of water for him to drink, and started singing a song. Sometimes I want to ask, how long have you lived? The answer was still the same as usual. He didn't know or remember. But Tu Lang continued to guess 800 years, 1,000 years or 2,000 years. Knowing that, he did not give a specific number. She threw the can of water in frustration, walked out. It was useless to ask. She didn't even know how old she was. You two are so comfortable, but the two guys inside are so worried. Are we sure we have to come here? Thap said, in a low voice. Sure, mainly I wanted to meet the guy from the other day. Because after all, that wasn't human. Hiding behind the wall, looking at the back of Jiang-tu, who had just passed by. Thap's eyes seemed glued to it. Then he felt a fear running down his spine. Because even though he couldn't see Jiang-tu's face, the overwhelming feeling like death was staring at him made Thap scared out of his wits. It's not okay. I give up. He grabbed his accomplice's shirt and dragged him away. What other mission was there at this time? Just keep your life. Jiang-tu did not know that there were two people snooping behind him. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Tu Lang had just left and called to report. It was the president calling him. He felt very strange. Didn't she just tell me to go to sleep? Actually, on the other end of the phone, Tu Lang's voice was deep. Hu Vu repeating. Leave me alone. The president called you. We are waiting for you in room 614. At that time, Tu Lang was on her way to her room to sleep. Seeing that Lan Ky had been waiting for a while, she also said the same thing. The president called us. When he opened the door, Jiang-tu was extremely surprised to see that there was no one in room 614. Except the president. Of course, it was a fake president transformed by a minister of country B. Tu Lang and Lan Ky did not know anything. Called Jiang-tu several times to meet the real president but could not get through. All because Hu Vu used a wave-blocking device. In order to find out information about the source of the power of country A, where does it come from? Calling Jiang-tu failed, so the two girls went into the president's room themselves, waiting to lock two extremely docile animals behind an iron cage. It's so busy during the day. But at night, the president has nothing to do but play puzzle games. As soon as he saw the two girls, he said something important and called them all here. Oh, I want to go to the bathroom. The two children immediately started sweating. If Jiang-tu was here, this matter would not have happened to us. Standing in front of the sign that the men's restroom goes on the left and the women's restroom goes on the right, Tu Lang asked Lan Ky if we should go inside or not. In the end, they decided no. This is our area. How could anything else happen? What they didn't know was that there were two people in the men's restroom right now. One tall and one short. Hello. If you led me here, why are you still running away? Not wanting to say that I was afraid that my balls would fall out. Thap replied in a loud voice. Just to see if there was still a chance. While being tense, suddenly a very relaxing sound rang out next to him. The president went in to pee. Not forgetting to look at the family of the masked man next to him. Sincerely praising him. He's so stable. There, the bodyguards outside were sweating in. Waiting, while inside the president announced. The hotel building exploded with a loud sound, sending all the debris flying out. The two guys had not even pulled their pants up yet, carrying the president and escaping from here laughing. They grabbed the president's head and carried it away like the wind. Is this still a good thing? It is true that they are rewarded far away on the horizon but close to the eyes. The two of them jumped onto the roofs of the buildings to run as far as possible. All the while, laughing loudly throughout the whole area. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect it. This time they would admire us. They ran a long way away. Lan Ky and Tu Lang heard a strange noise and gingerly looked inside the men's restroom. Their cheeks turned red. What is the president doing that makes such a loud noise? Who would have thought that it was not only big but also cool? The wind was blowing through the men's restroom. And when had their president disappeared? Oh my god. Someone save me? After the two girls' panic, the red alarm siren rang continuously. Everyone paid attention. The president was missing. All news was blocked. The president must be found before the press discovered and announced. Tell the people of Country B what happens on their territory. They must support us. Both of them tried to call Jiang Tu but couldn't. Tu Lang fell into a tight spot but still had to stop Lan Ky, who was next to her, from wanting to transform to find Jiang Tu. Did you forget that a few days ago, you almost couldn't turn back? Without Jiang Si, you would have eaten everyone here. Even I can't control it 100%. Don't let that happen again. If you become someone who threatens the president's life, it's not time to use genes. So what to do now? Lan Ky asked Tu Lang. Even though there was no solution, her eyes fell on the two dogs that were still being held in the iron cage. Tu Lang, are you serious? Lan Ky asked but she didn't answer. Sitting in front of the iron cage, Tu Lang showed off an item belonging to the president and asked the other two if they could find it. Lan Ky gently reminded her that they weren't dogs. Could they really be found? There was no other way. As soon as he stepped out of the iron cage, the necklace in Alang's hand was snatched by a Mao and dragged away like an item. The two children were startled, not understanding what the others were doing, but saw a Mao throw his friend flying out of the hotel through the broken brick road, making it impossible for Lan Ky and Tu Lang to take over. Before long, I saw a Mao leaning out of the huge hole, laughing happily. I was free. Looking at his friend who had soared into the sky, he leaned forward, used force in his legs, and pushed himself away like a rocket leaving the launch pad, leaving a sentence echoing in the two girls' ears. Just leave it to us. The impact was so strong that the soldiers outside were coughing. Now Lan Ky discovered that these two not only looked like dogs, but were also no different from the two of them when they transformed. Rushing through the dark night sky was a streak of light following Athap's group very closely. They glanced back and heard the loud voice of Alang. Brother, if you don't want to die, leave him behind. Athap was startled and looked in that direction. Seeing a real devil, he roared angrily. Damn it, people from Country A are raising zombie kings or something. Run the fuck away. Go back to headquarters and say, you too. It accelerated at full speed. Behind was a Mao who had caught up with Alang who was angrily hissing through the cracks. You guys are definitely dead. Lan Ky looked at Tu Lang and asked. What should I do? Is there any other way now but to chase? They chased after them but saw no sign of them. They ran too fast. They had power but couldn't use it, which made them feel very upset. So the situation changed so that Athap's group ran away from Lang's group, and the other two girls had to run after all four people. The first two streaks of light crossed the night sky, landing on the ruins where a Zhao was holding a gun to protect the autonomous region. As soon as they landed, a K and a Zhao discovered that on Athap's shoulder was the president. Don't stand there anymore. Two perverts are chasing you. The pervert that Athap had just mentioned landed not far away. Looking at his appearance he knew he was evil. The entire autonomous region suddenly went into alert mode immediately. They came out wondering. Oh there. It was the zombie boss of Country A. Alang spoke first. Handing people over here. There would be no war. A Mao reminds us below. We are dealing with foreign zombies. Be careful. Standing on his own territory. A K chuckled. What the hell? The humans of the two countries haven't fought yet and we've already fought first. As a zombie leader, why do you help humans? Oh, are you talking about me? Alang asked in return because he was not the leader of the zombies. But he was more than capable of hooking the other domain. So look at you guys. You are also living with humans. The duo Alo and that middle-parted name are the most typical. What right do they have to say that? Not afraid of being exposed. K spread his arms and smiled. I did this to help the zombies survive in the future. That was a great plan. Only a fool would believe Alang. But at this moment he remembered himself a long time ago. Seemingly nearly 1.000 years ago. The previous half of my life was just like an ordinary bird. A bird in a flock helping people clean up trash and dead bodies. We catch prey and kill worms, reducing the spread of disease. Why do we turn into worms in the human mouth? A terrifying and cruel existence? At that time, we hate people not because of their prejudices but because of jealousy. I want to become human. I want to have legs like them. I want to have awareness and intelligence like them. To become a high-class creature. Yet when I became a poet, I was killed by humans. One sunny day, Jiang Tu, who had not yet become Alang's boss, walked through a very desolate area, lifted up a huge rock, and spoke in a distant voice. If the earth is so shallow, what can survive? Unfortunately, the lower half of the body and wings were gone. He picked up the disabled black crow and gently said, "From now on, I will call you Alang." Holding the crow in his arms, he walked towards the setting sun. Alang, remember, hatred and destruction cannot solve the problem. Once it was a small crow that Zhang Si put in his pocket, but now it has become this huge monster. There is no need to explain much to this autonomous group. It simply says, the facts have proven our plan to be much greater. Still keeping that smile, K concluded, seemingly unable to negotiate anymore. 2. Lang and Lan KY landed as soon as they saw the hissing smoke coming out of Alang's body. On the opposite side, a Gao had transformed into a speed demon first. He impatiently called K, telling them what to do first. This place is not their territory. Don't think Country B is useless. Alang never said they were useless. So he took the opportunity to transform. The two newcomers were startled when the layer of skulls on their faces gradually disappeared, revealing their 5 senses very clearly. Alang remembers that time. After Zhang Tu finished treating the disabled black crow, he let it sit on his shoulder and accompany him. You can become any other creature or person if you want. Whoever says it's right, it's right. From then on, Alang stood firmly on both feet in front of them today. I don't intend to negotiate anything with you either. Everyone considers it normal. Only the two mothers, Tu Lang and Lan KY, jumped up. Looking at this shape, anyone who still says Alang is a dog needs to reconsider their perception. Especially, the two girls from beginning to end always had a chain around his neck. Only then did I realize it. Oh look, isn't that a puppy? A Zhao spread his arms haphazardly like a broken-winged bird. It's just a disabled bird that wants to become human. I wasn't affected by any of a Zhao's words. Alang stood there coldly and silently. No different from a CEO. Making this speed demon crazy. What are you being crazy about? It put its two hands together to form a launching pad for the fireball to soar. It was clear that Alang was the only target. In human form, you can't do anything. Lan KY weakly warned. The two of them be careful. This name is not simple. A Zhao's fire blast was even more intense than when it collided with us in the afternoon. Yet Alang simply slipped past and avoided it somewhat superficially. The place where the fire originated suddenly turned into a tornado made of fire. The wind blew rapidly as if it wanted to suck everything towards me. The wind pressure increased too much. Both Lan KY and Tu Lang had to endure. Then gradually retreating away, Tu Lang shouted for her friend. Quickly leave here, leave it to the two of them. Let's go find the president. Soaring out from the fire tornado were a Zhao's two powerful hands. When he was in such an aggressive stance, when he received a punch from Alang, his whole body bent. Surely the surprised witnesses of both sides. Only a Mao was not surprised. A Zhao alone enjoyed a Lang's terrible power when punching him. Dozens of meters away while thunder was still rumbling in the autonomous region. Nearby, a K was thinking, this guy's attack power is so terrible. Should he go in and help his friend or should he run away? Jumping up with the same attitude as the male protagonist of the series. The zombies of the autonomous region were drawn to a Lang's 3-claw attack on his arm. With just a simple fan down like that, the high-rise building in front was split into 3 pieces, blowing all the poor zombies out into the chicken coop. When a K escaped from the battlefield, he saw smoke sizzling there, and a Zhao, who specialized in loud crowing, lay on the ground, groaning like he had a fever. His chest and abdomen were slashed 3 deep times. No wonder my accomplices didn't feel horrible. The fire that a Zhao was so proud of was now surrounding a Lang like a toy. This guy was too dangerous. A K immediately pulled out his dagger and shouted. The zombies of Country B heard this. They all went up to the river to chase those 2 guys away. A Q's dagger technique was launched first, with dozens of daggers flying out from all directions to attack a Lang. One hit his 6-pack stomach and broke it several times. A Lang held it in his hand. Unable to attack from afar, a K threw himself forward, intending to fight hand to hand. A Lang's left arm raised, his eyes swept over, causing a fierce bang where the 2 collided. His dagger is no different from a toy that breaks in just a minute. 5 meters around a Lang is absolutely invulnerable. Jumping around for a while, 2 Lang and Lam KY finally found the president, who was being carried on a Thap's shoulders like a bag of rice to escape from here. Their goal was to capture the president. So a K immediately ignored the corpse bird and called out all the corpses to quickly stop them. In a moment, around the place where 2 Lang and Lan KY landed, dozens of low-level zombies jumped up, preparing to stop the 2 girls. However, it seemed everyone had forgotten that a Lang was always with a Mao. At this moment, he pinned his butt on an iron pillar, sitting as if waiting. Seeing that it was time for me to take action, a hole in a Mao's body spewed out white smoke, and from there grew 2 wings several meters wide. I thought he would flap his wings and fly away, but not. A Mao's right hand, full of sharp claws, immediately turned into a giant, then slammed hard on the ground where a Thap was carrying the president. Soon, his body turned into a giant size, no different from a titan peeking into the human area. Just a simple slap of the hand created a storm that threw up the zombies of Country B City. 2 Lang and Lan Kai's level was naturally higher than those brats, so they weren't blown away, but both of them were startled by a Mao's appearance after transforming. It looked no different from a demon in hell stepping on a 20-story building in an autonomous city. Just placing the sole of his foot on a building. That thing crumbled like a piece of cake under his feet. Ah Mao. At this point, a K was already scared. Oh my god, is this an ancient deformed species? The zombies were scared, but the 2 little ones, 2 Lang and Lan KY, were angry. Great-grandpa, why are they living in a cage like this? I think you guys don't have the power to threaten us, so we let you go. It's no different than when we transformed. We can't harm the president. I wonder if a Mao could hear the curses of the 2 girls up there. With the cool breeze and moonlight, his long legs walked in the middle of the autonomous zone, searching for the name a Thap who was arresting the president along with the young man with 2 bangs. Seeing that something was wrong, a Thap discovered that it was a deformed species in the legend, so he immediately pushed the fainted president over the human's shoulder. You bring this guy to Big Sister. I'll go help, by the way. Start the consciousness-enhancing device. That can help them become stronger. Otherwise our zombies of Country B won't die even if they die. Must be their enemy. A K is very spicy. In this era there are still ancient monsters. A streak of light landed on a Mao's head. It was a Lang leaning like a fly buzzing on the red patch. Both of their consciousnesses were still the same as before transforming. They were not ordinary zombie bosses. When the young girl with 2 bangs came to the Big Sister to report that there were 2 monsters, she saw everything. There was no need to report anymore. because she was upset that those guys came to destroy her place. This kid held out his purple shirt and introduced himself as the country's president. Immediately his big sister yelled at him. "Kill him already. What are you paying me for?" Ignoring his crazy sister, he left the president of country A behind and immediately left. K and Athap are in serious danger. I have to go help. Athap returned to Amao and Alang to prepare to deal with them. What he was asked to do was to open up his consciousness to increase his erection strength when level B rose. Right now it's so confusing. I don't know how much to open so that the corpse doesn't go crazy, but that's okay. There's no time left, so he just keeps pressing. K was affected by increased consciousness and quickly felt virtual power rushing throughout his body. The zombie civilians also roared like they were going crazy. They shouted, chased the group of foreigners away, and then all in unison rushed towards Alang. He blew his nose. Combined with human technology? Yet there is also this trick. What a bunch of shrimp. At his feet is a Mao. Regardless of whether it has anything to do with us, we only obey one person. Having said that, a Mao spread out his arms and fanned like a windmill, blowing the zombies, chickens and ducks of all kinds out into the chicken coop. With just one simple move, he plowed the land below. Whoever was shouting to approach you just now, get out of here. Really shocked. The autonomous group of Country B panicked. They had used up all the consciousness-enhancing devices, but they still killed them all in one move? K is one of the guys with the best strength in the group. At this moment, he jumped high into the sky, intending to slap Alang's face to relieve his anger. Yet, the fist was grabbed by Alang and thrown away very easily. Black blood immediately spurted out of Q's mouth. It seemed like he no longer had the strength to fight in the face of Alang's overwhelming strength. Right then, Athap returned and the boy with bangs at the base felt hopeless. So he pushed the lever all the way to strengthen his friend Athap. Confronting the enemy, giant beast in legend, Mao didn't know what it was, but he felt like he was also partly affected. And Athap in just a blink of an eye turned into a monster of extremely large size. It even had a protruding nose, out like a shark on land. After regaining all his strength, Athap clenched his hands and stood up straight, roaring loudly. Looking in the distance on two mountain forms was a Mao with two pairs of wings. Facing Athap, looks like a mutated lizard. Oh la la, these are the same species. Even though their shapes are different, they are both legendary monsters. We won't let a stranger take on the same body or recognize the same kind of things. Athap rushed over and immediately attacked the one he saw. That torn wing. Alang's assessment of the current situation was quite reasonable. In front of him was a horizontally turned body for AK to use all his strength to fight back. It's obvious that you are so strong. Why do you help humans? We are the same species. I keep talking but this guy doesn't understand. Alang also clenched his fists and prepared to fight back. I can't answer this question. The order I received was to pick up the human president. That's it. Once again, AK was punched right in the face. He couldn't take it off. He just flew backwards. But his voice trembled unwillingly. We just want our race to survive. There's nothing wrong with that. From the two strange zombie beasts that were fighting each other until they flew all over the land, Athap's loud, angry voice rang out. You are not welcome here. He braced himself to knock down that winged guy. But he didn't expect to feel dizzy, but instead heard a calm voice above his head. If you don't hand over the human president, you'll all have to die. This. Athap realized that his strength was nothing to a Mao, who was still standing tall. He simply used his left arm to strangle Athap's neck. From beginning to end, these two girls still stared, perhaps reflecting on themselves. Yesterday they even clicked their tongues to call the dog. But luckily they didn't bite them and sent them to heaven. One hand strangled Athap. With the other hand a Mao created a violent spinning ball that hit Athap straight in the abdomen. Having increased his strength to such an extent but still falling under the hands of that monster, of course. This young boy with double-haired hair was not willing. And if he was not willing, he could not bear it. A Mao's blow caused a Thap to lose all of its strength. When it grabbed its opponent, that huge body was limp and had no strength left to fight back. His throat was tight, but a Thap still wheezed a question from beginning to end. If you have such power, why do you let humans manipulate you? Possessing destructive power but being a human dog? A Mao's red eyes widened. This time he answered longer and wanted to tell a story. Why don't we want to destroy humans? At that time, I was just a zombie child of a deformed family. We deformed people are not zombies. We have consciousness. We have food. We just want our own area to survive. But those damn humans came again. They used high technology to destroy our home. Just because of one sentence. It's not the clan that has to die. It's the death of all my elders. In order to protect me, my parents raised me here in the ruins to avoid being chased and killed by humans. Humans call us monsters, so what are they in our eyes? I saw with my own eyes that they killed all my family members. And I had to huddle in the cave. At that time, I hated humans more than any other species. I want revenge. But I hate myself even more for being so cowardly and weak that I am powerless. At that time, somewhere out of the gap in the cliff, a Mao saw a human reporting to headquarters that he had destroyed all the monsters. From now on, the earth no longer has deformed corpses. Yet in an instant, the other man pressed his terrifying face close to the crack when he discovered the breath of a deformed child. Just when I thought I was about to die, that human was killed. The punch went sideways, narrowly saving him. At that time, a Mao thought he had found his kind. But he did not. His appearance is not like a deformed person at all. That was also the first time a Mao saw Jiangxi. Or more accurately, saw his third form. In a Mao's immature mind at that time, he felt that he had found a fellow species that was also a strong fellow species. It's just that that fellow species had a strange shape. At that time, I saw him alone confronting the entire human army. No matter what its size, no matter what its science and technology, Jiangxi alone can wipe it all out. They were terrified when they saw that the ground army had been completely destroyed. Any weapons were thrown out. The aircraft carrier fired missiles rushing toward Jiangxi. But everyone got goosebumps when they saw that strange name looking towards them. All the weapons they had were discharged towards Jiangtu. A Mao witnessed with his own eyes the war between Jiangxi and all humans. With just one lift of his hand, he was able to destroy all human high-tech weapons. Each of his movements can call up waves to block all the heavy missiles of that group of humans, and then use the tsunami to attack the ships above. When the army at sea was completely destroyed, they also used electromagnetic orbital lasers to open fire towards Jiangtu. Yet with just a glance, when that laser bullet passed by him, Jiangtu still stood tall in the giant light regardless of how great its destructive power was. The explosion could be seen from the Milky Way, making the humans think they had destroyed Jiangxi. Who would have thought that the laser weapon that could vaporize zombie cells was just a decoration in front of his eyes? Putting the pants back together, Jiangtu was unharmed. It's just that it's unclear what force caused the shirt on his body to disappear. Finally, there was someone who dared to confront Jiangxi solo. The strongest mech warrior, something that humans were proud of and couldn't withstand a single move from him. Jiangxi did what I wanted to do the most. At that time I saw people gradually showing fearful expressions before Jiangxi's continuous attacks. I was lucky to be able to survive that battle of the century, but other creatures were not. Because Jiangxi destroyed all civilized human society, including of course organisms on Earth. That battle left the Earth's surface dry. Most creatures evaporated, and the world, which had more than 100 continents, now has only 2 left. I can't do that in my entire life. I know he hates people as much as I do. In a world where there are no longer any living things, Jiangtu is not at all happy due to his successful revenge. We saw the emptiness in his eyes when he lifted the huge rock. A Mao saw with his own eyes that Jiangxi had returned to his original zombie form, and he saw the loneliness in those dark eye sockets. Stepping through the rubble, Jiangxi pulled his green shirt. I'm up. A Mao hid under the rock from beginning to end, watching him put on his shirt, then use the hood to cover his head. It kept following Jiang Tu for a long time until he suddenly looked to the side and smelled life from a very far distance. But because the space was so quiet, A Mao could clearly hear Jiang Tu's gentle voice. The lower half of his body and wings were broken. Lifted from the rubble was a crow pointing the other half of Jiang Tu's body, put it in his hand. From now on I will call you A Lang, because I saw his gentle face. So from then on A Mao bluntly ran after him without having to hide it. Identity again. Big Brother once said, hatred and destruction cannot solve the problem. As long as we do not threaten people, we will complete the great plan. Still lifting his deformed fellow's neck, A Mao asked him, do you understand what I'm saying? A Mao's two powerful arms tightened around A Mao's slender wrists. But basically he couldn't struggle no matter how much his legs were different in size. Those words were to prepare for the end of the battle. Nothing more. The two girls were stunned and waiting, only to see A Mao forcefully throw a thap down and hit his back against a pile of buildings behind him. As soon as his throat escaped control, he scolded him and said, nonsense. It is absolutely impossible for such a strong person to exist in this world. And that legendary strong man, now standing very calmly in the office facing the fake president, was simply being looked at by Zhang Si. But the words of the Minister of Country B were not applied. There was no way he could escape. It was all because he foolishly used hypnosis on a subject who shouldn't have tried it. Cough cough. The minister spit out 2 mouthfuls of blood and turned back into his original form. The 2 deep sisters felt angry and shouted quickly through the microphone to question. Hey, what did you see with that idiot's hypnosis? Quickly answer. Hey, why did it change back to how it was? No matter how much he urged, there was no answer. Because Minister Kui had already collapsed and collapsed. The last sentence sounds like a mixed bag of words, but it actually exhausted all of Minister Kui's efforts. He killed all of our ancestors. Ji Pu-vu of course didn't understand. So he shouted into his ear again. What are you talking about? Speak clearly. The younger brother ran back to her. Don't stand here and scream anymore. Hurry and save someone first. So they both ran through the next door and ran into room 614. Where the zombie was standing with his back to him. Me. Turning around with an absent-minded face. Jiang Tu scratched his scratchy head, feeling very strange. Oh, did I just fall asleep? But where is the president? He didn't know what had just happened. The president pretended to be alive after returning to the minister's form. At this time, he was lying on the ambulance and was immediately pushed into the emergency room by the 2 deep sisters. Mister, don't die. If you want to die, at least say it and then die. The phone in Jiang Tu's hand rang with the urgent voice of the minister after calling several times without anyone answering. As soon as he heard Jiang Tu's voice, Minister Tran immediately reported that the president had been taken away. He didn't understand. Just now he saw him in front of him. But on the other end of the line he still insisted that the president had been taken away half an hour ago. Jiang Tu stood stunned, not understanding anything. Still unable to digest that he was selected. A moment later, the hotel wall exploded with a bang. That streak of light shot out like an electric shock. Jiang Tu was confused and could only use speed to compensate. After pushing Minister Thoi into the emergency room, the 2 sisters eagerly asked the doctor how the situation was. He said the situation was not very optimistic. But Deep Hu-vu doesn't care about the minister's life at all. She just wants him to still be able to open his mouth to talk. The doctor believes that Minister Kui's ability to talk at this time is an extremely high-level requirement. With his pants down, he will become a vegetative person. And he won't be able to talk again for the rest of his life. After the unlucky plot in so many love movies, it happened right at this moment. The 2 of them had their faces distorted. At this point it was beyond help. In that noisy battlefield, a thap spit out a bunch of blood while stubbornly dismissing a mouse theory. You said nonsense. If there really are zombies like that, why have we lived so hard until now? Quote. You said zombies destroyed humanity. So why are there still humans left alive? Well, Amao has never really thought about this. If you want to know, go ask humans yourself. It seems like you all intend to die. Your emotions seem to be pent up. Athap stood up and roared, wanting us to hand over your president, unless you step over my body first. The monster's rage involved the zombie population of the autonomous region below. Lan Ky didn't care much about them, but she still shouted. They were crazy. Opposite is Amao's calm look. Here you say, then you should disappear along with this earth. Finishing the sentence, its two wings shot up into the sky, gathering strength into a sphere that radiated light like a laser beam. Alang did not speak or stop. The zombies of Country B screamed loudly, mixed with the screams of Tu Lang and Lan Ky. Did he forget what we came here for? Huh? Right at the most exciting moment, when Amao's ball was about to blow everyone away, Zhang Si's arm suddenly stretched out, not like he was the leader or anything, but just gently extended in mid-air. Ake was surprised and thought he was dizzy, but when he looked back, he immediately realized that the person who neutralized Amao's move was a stranger who looked like he did nothing. From afar, it looked like Zhang Tu was standing on a cliff. But in the autonomous region, where could he get a rock? It turned out he was standing on a Thap's snout, who was sweating profusely at this time. Just one simple word. Okay, stop. He easily neutralized the move that could blow everything away, because the consciousness installation had been increased to the highest level on a large scale. The zombies of the autonomous region immediately became violent. They ran headlong towards the foreigners, intending to use large numbers of troops. His casting to overwhelm. Who would have thought that before they got there, the whole group stopped, looking exactly like a Zhao was trying to suppress his trembling so that his nose wouldn't move. Everything was temporarily sealed because of the guy wearing a suit, standing silently on a Zhao's nose without saying a word. When the gentle wind blew past, Zhang Tu turned his head to look. Even without speaking, it made the poets suddenly feel unreasonable fear. Their knees fell to the ground below, bowing in unison before Zhang Tu. They trembled unconsciously to pay their respects to my king. The rumble of hundreds of footsteps suddenly fell silent, making Lan Ky dazed. Why is it so quiet? Pure humans don't understand, but Amao knows. He explains to the stubborn guy in front. Now you can see. Trying to keep his head still, Athap's eyes tried to roll upward to see the other person's appearance clearly, although Zhang Tu's face was not revealed under the shadow of the hood. The terrifying aura made him feel shivers and ask, is this my fellow human being or my ancestor? Zhang Si's lips moved and he asked softly, where is the human president? He was so scared that he stammered until he could say a complete sentence. On the first floor underground. Turn left at the big door inside a command center. Jiang Tu disappeared right on the zombie's nose, making all the poets present feel relieved, as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted off their shoulders. Ake knelt down on the ground, looked up at the sky where he had just stood and asked, what is this? Facing those two guys is not as stressful as him alone? In the room that Athap pointed out, the leader of the autonomous group was pointing a gun at the president's head. I have never shown mercy to my enemies. Rest in peace. I pulled the trigger and was about to pull it when suddenly the calm voice of the president of Country A rang out. Wait, you're the leader of the reactionary organization of Country B, right? Hearing your voice, I didn't expect you to be a girl. You're truly a woman who's not inferior to a man. She frowned and looked at the president in front of her with a blank expression, praising me for being able to help him escape.